And they're going to be going straight for those photon cannons to try and take them down. We do see a large fight out front. We see the Psystorm has finished resourcing by now. Those Stalkers are going to be laying down as much cover fire as they can, trying to take down the Banelings before they're able to reach them. Those Hydralisks are being microed backwards, and the Stalkers and Colossus just might be able to prevail over these Hydralisks because they are air specialized.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Hydralisks there did pretty well. They managed to do some damage, but those Banelings were wasted again on the Stalkers. He really wants to use those on Zealots or on the structures themselves. The Stalkers are an armored unit. They don't take any bonus damage from those Banelings. The splash doesn't really help them very, very much. So it looks like there was a bit of a mistake for using those Banelings. It could have been a lot more powerful for them. And here come the Archons again. This is another terrible, terrible problem for a Zerg player. He really needs to get in some Ultralisks if he wants to deal with that kind of powerful splash ability.
And so we have a ton of Hydralisks still over here, but little sneaky Sonky has already got another expansion. This is really, really good at this point, but of course, Yellow has begun to catch on. He really needs to try and keep up in terms of economics. He does have that high-yield mineral field just about to become his.
Yeah, and you can see here we've got some lurkers in play. We've got an Overseer. We've got a pretty large Zerg force, but the Protoss have come knocking. They're moving in the front door, and you can see that right now the Protoss player has just a little bit of an advantage in combat units, not much of one. This is a pretty even fight. Not here, of course, but if the Zerg choose to move back and protect themselves, this could be bad for both players. We'll see what happens. Here come the Banelings storming in, wasting themselves, and the Lurkers have gone down. There's no detection in the area right now for the Protoss, and he's just lost a Colossus to those Lurkers. They do terrible, terrible damage against armored forces right now.
Ooh, and was that worth it for him to take out that hatchery? He lost the majority of his army, as we can see, but he does, he's still at right about half of the forces that Yellow has available.
Yeah, so it looks like it was still a pretty even fight. It was a big loss for the Protoss player. Lost a lot of his forces, but he's still warping in forces in the back of his base here in this alpha version of StarCraft 2.
Ooh, and if Sonky is able to find this high-yield expansion, it is going to be in big trouble because it does only have 2 cannons defending it. All of these Lurkers and these Hydralisks are going to be able to take it out no problem. We're going to likely see the Hydralisk try to be some sort of meat shield. No, he's just going to be getting real bold and getting those Lurkers out there. Wow, one volley from the Lurker spines, and that first Photon Cannon goes down, as well as the second one. Whoa, and we see the Psystorm getting laid down on all of those burrowed Lurkers. Does he have enough energy for a second? Yes, he does, and we're going to see that Lurker almost go down. It escapes with 31 HP.
Wow, what a great move. What a great use of Psystorm. Of course, he really couldn't see those things very well. You couldn't see them hidden underground, but you don't need to see them to hit them with Psystorm. What a great move, and he's managed to take out the bulk of that Zerg force.
Now, Saki, seeing how effective these Banelings have been for him, is likely going to be continuing to build a bunch of them. We do see in production another 4. So total on the field, he's going to have right around 10 more of them. That could be a potential 1,000 damage to any structures that he targets.
Yeah, this could be really, really destructive. We really need to see the Protoss player get some more detection in play, or he's going to have to, of course, continue doing what he's been doing, which is making great use of Psystorm to counter this Lurker threat. And here come a lot of Stalkers and a bunch of High Templars as well. Now, the Stalker is, of course, a great unit, but it takes a ton of bonus damage from those Lurkers. It's not the ideal unit in that situation. Looks like we had a little bit of slowdown going on here. I don't know what's going on, but here come the Zerg moving in on this Protoss expansion once again.
Well, we're going to be targeting that Photon Cannon, able to take it down very quickly. Unfortunately, it is a detector, so all those Stalkers are able to see those Lurkers and get them focus fired right down. Whoa, some great micro out of Yellow. We do see him take down all of those Hydralisks as well as targeting all of the Banelings with his Stalkers.
Yeah, and he's got an observer overhead right now, so he can see what's going on. He's prepared for the Lurker threat. We really need to see the Zerg player try something new. With all of this threat out there, he's not going to be able to deal with this kind of Protoss force. He really needs to do something besides use the Lurkers, or if he's going to continue with them, he's going to have to get a lot more clever with how he's using them.
So whenever you see some sort of building in StarCraft 2 that has this little picture down by it, that means that it's a detector and it's able to see any units that are normally invisible without them present.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really powerful ability. Of course, it's really, really necessary when dealing with the Zerg. Another thing we could see from the Zerg right now, if he would go Infestors, this would give him a very powerful ability to deal with these Stalker units. But the Infestor's a new unit. It's kind of hard to learn all these new units so quickly. These players haven't had a ton of time with it, and it looks like the Protoss are pushing into the base here. Not a lot of options for the Zerg. Oh, great use of Psystorm. Classic ability. Oh, he caught a few of his own units there. Not too bad, but a little bit of damage. And still, the Protoss are in control here. They're moving into the Zerg base, and they're tearing apart this very important expansion.
Ooh, he took just about all of his shields out with that, but fortunately enough in StarCraft 2, when your units go without being attacked for a certain amount of time, they then regenerate their shields very, very quickly. So because Sankey is not laying down a continued barrage of damage on these Protoss forces, we do see that all of their shields are now just about back at full.
And there's the tail right now. There you can see the Protoss have a real advantage in their economy and in their army size. They've got 4,475 minerals to roughly 1,000 for the Zerg. The Zerg are in a lot of trouble here. They're being pressured on multiple fronts. Their main expansion is under attack, or excuse me, yeah, their expansion is under attack, and it looks like the Protoss are just doing whatever they want right in the middle of the battlefield.
And he's just trying to take those distractors down right now. What he should be doing with all these Stalkers is moving up into the main base, and I think that he heard me, because here we have a few Stalkers getting moved up there. We do only have 3 Lurkers in play to defend them, and those observers combined with those Stalkers are absolutely going to be able to destroy them because they won't be invisible.
Yeah, what a massive force of Stalkers moving into play here. Oh my goodness, that's just a terrible threat for the Protoss player. He's taken a few free hits here. He must be looking at something else right now. Must be distracted by some other part of the battlefield, trying to manage all of these units everywhere, all the stuff that's going on. There's just a lot happening all over the place. Even now as we're watching this, you can see there's other dots moving around on the map, and there's a little warp in action for you. There's how you can use warp in, and hey, look, here's some Immortals moving into play. These things are hit extremely hard. They take reduced damage, and you do anything more than 10 points of damage to them, you take it reduces that damage with that powerful shield, and you can see he's just bouncing a lot of attacks from those Lurkers.
And now that Observer just went down. It looked like it wandered just a little too far into the Zerg player's base. The Overlords now evolve into Overseers in order to have detection. A couple other functions that they have is the ability to spawn a Changeling, which drops on the ground and then morphs into what looks like an enemy player, so it enables a free scout to be in that Zerg base.
Yeah, you can hide out with your Changeling, and maybe the other player won't notice it. You can keep it in play. You can really see what's going on inside the Zerg base. It looks like the Zerg player in this case is primarily using these units to really see what's going on. He's just using them as detectors, but they really are capable of a lot of other abilities.
So for now, it's looking like Yellow is just waiting for that Observer to get out into play. Now over here on the unit menu, we do see that he does have that. It's likely going to get moved across the map as soon as possible because he's going to need to try and see all of those Lurkers burrowed underground. We see a lone Stalker trying to take out 2 Zerglings. Is he going to be able to do it? No, the Zerglings are going to take that Stalker right down.
Yeah, it looks like the Protoss player is really in control here.
Whoa.
Oh, here we go. Here's a little bit of danger for the Protoss player, something to worry about. Now, Stalkers are pretty decent against these guys, so this might not be a great fight for the Ultralisks. He does have an Overseer overhead. If he knows about it, he can use Transfusion, which will allow him to instantly heal any biological unit of a large amount of health. 200 points of damage gets healed, so it looks like he could use that if he knows to use it to really keep those Ultralisks in the battle. There's nothing worse than having an Ultralisk almost dead and see it pop back on its feet. Still, that's a huge number of Immortals and Stalkers in front of his base. I'm not sure those Ultralisks, as impressive as they are really going to be able to break through that massive Protoss force knocking at his front door.
Ooh, and Saki was getting a little antsy in his base. He's going to be making the move forward, trying to take all these Immortals, but those Immortals are the perfect counter to all of these Ultralisks because not only do they deal bonus damage to them because they are armored units, but the Immortals also only take 10 damage per hit while their shields are still up.
Yeah, now the Ultralisk does have a splash ability. He does do very well against Zealots. He does really well against Marines. Not as great against Stalkers, and he's very vulnerable to those Immortals. And you can see the Protoss player is just very aware of this, and he's just tearing into this Zerg base.
Wow, the Protoss player was able to make it all the way in there, and he says that is the GG. So Sankey has now lost 0-2 against Yellow. What a great best of 3 between these two players in the StarCraft 2 exhibition match.
You can see both players trying very hard, using some of the new units and abilities. We saw some great micro with that blink. We saw a lot of great action here. Both players still obviously learning the game. We still got this pre-alpha version of StarCraft 2 where we're still working on the game and still developing all the technology and all of the gameplay that goes into it.